Hey everyone, so we are here with Cut the Cake, and I'm excited to have them because who doesn't like wedding cakes? I mean, we have a lot of different trends happening for 2018, but wedding cakes are still in. So without further ado, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell you where you can find them, and so forth.
I'm Sharon Haller. I'm one of the owners. This is my daughter, Cyndol. She's the other owner. And we're with Cut the Cake. We have 2 locations. We're located in Haines City, Florida, and also we have a location in Orange Avenue in Orlando. And you can find us on Facebook. We don't Twitter, but we do have Instagram. We have Instagram, and we also have Pinterest.
That's okay. So guys, just letting you know, they are coming from their shop. They're in their shop right now. When you own a business, you're working 24/7 almost. So in case you hear any noise or background noise or signal seems to get distorted, just refresh and you'll be able to come back into the segment. So with that being said, how long have you guys been around as a company?
Since 2005. Cut the Cake has been around since 2005. We purchased it in 2011 or 2012, and we've pretty much expanded the company over the years and took it to a different level.
So is it family based? What are the tiers like within the company? Is it just the 2 of you?
Typically, it's just the 2 of us.
Okay.
Occasionally, we'll have somebody help us with wedding shows or with sometimes baking and stuff like that. But typically, it's the 2 of us doing everything.
Wow, that's a lot. So you actually do all the deliveries and stuff too?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing too because people get to see your face and you are the brand. But I know wedding cakes are like super popular, so I can only imagine how busy you guys really are. So
during the spring and fall when it's busy, you have to calculate your deliveries and then all of your cakes. So there's some long days when you're really busy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do photography and video, but I know every wedding I go to that's cake. So you guys are like always working. And even if you're not sending like a full cake, it might be cupcakes or desserts along the line.
Right, because we do the desserts as well.
Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so I'm going to get into the first question.
Okay.
So my first question is, will you preserve the top tier of a cake for like a first wedding anniversary, or do you provide a special cake for that occasion?
If you want to take your wedding cake and you want to, enjoy it, you get a free anniversary cake in a year with us anyway.
Cool. So the whole freezing it, does that really apply?
Sometimes people will. Some people still go by the tradition. I would say probably maybe 25% of the people will do traditional, they freeze it still, where most people won't. They look forward to that cake in a year. They look forward to having that fresh cake. And sometimes they do freeze it and they say it tastes pretty good. So I'm glad to hear that.
I've had a few people say that they've kept like a few slices of it instead of keeping the entire thing. Okay. So that way they still keep that tradition, but then they also come pick up their fresh one.
Yeah, then they have 2 cakes.
So I'm assuming that if I was a bride or a couple, whatever, that I can come into your location and do a tasting. So how does that work?
Yes, we ask that the couples come in with a scheduled appointment first because we like to be prepared. We want to make sure it's a one-on-one. We don't want to be interrupted from anybody else walking in during the appointment. So that's why we usually have an appointment, a scheduled appointment. And it typically takes about an hour. And what we do is we first ask them, what are you looking for? How many guests are you having? Do you have any styles that you like? So first we approach the cake style, the design, and then they try the cake. So then they get to try, we offer anywhere from 8 to 12 different flavors of cakes during the tasting. And then if for some reason, they weren't able to try something, we do sometimes offer them to try a flavor they weren't able to try.
So when it comes to getting a custom cake and tasting, just talk to me about that process. How does that work?
All right. We ask that our couples schedule an appointment because it gives them that one-on-one opportunity to work with us. And that way they're not being, that nobody's interrupting on their tasting, and everybody is able to have our full attention, and we're able to have all their full attention. But what we do first is we design a cake. We ask them how many servings they want, if there's any certain amount of tiers of cake they would like, if they've seen any designs that they're interested in. For example, I love Pinterest. I know we have a great website. We have a great Facebook page with all of our cakes, but I do refer them to Pinterest sometimes because sometimes they just aren't sure what they like. Mm-hmm. So the first half of our tasting would be pretty much designing a cake, and the second portion would be trying different flavors. And we offer around anywhere from 8 to 12 different flavors, depending on the size wedding it is.
Okay, so that sounds pretty like non-nerve-wracking, but do couples come in nervous? Are they like, what do you feel from them? Like, is it more of excitement? Is it like, I don't know what I'm doing? Is it a mixture of both?
Oh, they're always excited because they get to try the cake. Right. I think they're always like, yay, we're so excited to get to try the cake.
Yeah. Especially the men.
Yes.
Yeah. The men are so funny. They'll be like, we don't care about the flowers. They can make it as beautiful as they want, but we came here to try the cake.
So actually sticking with that, I know groom cakes are in. So right. How do you guys incorporate that? Or for example, like the main cake may be like elaborate and beautiful, and then the groom cake is like a football. How do you like manage that?
Sometimes the groom's cakes are like surprises, so they won't even talk about it at the tastings, and they'll call us later on. And then sometimes the grooms are all about it, and they know exactly what they want.
The fact that they get to enjoy something they created or something they really enjoy, whether it be football or car. We did Death Star the one time. That was really cool. So there's so many different things that we create for the groom, and it's been pretty popular. And sometimes they'll serve it at the wedding, and sometimes they serve it at the rehearsal dinner. One thing I do explain to our couples is, maybe you should cut back on servings on your wedding cake so that you don't have a lot of cake left over, or you don't want to have it spoil.
At a wedding, I've seen like half and half. Do you guys do that? Like I've seen like half of the cake, like, the traditional, and then I've seen like the other half be like Spider-Man. How do you make a cake like that?
That's fun. We love doing those cakes because the one side will be the groom's ideas, and the other side would be the bride's ideas. So it's kind of like they both have a piece of the wedding cake about them. And we have a rotating stand that the couples can rent, and it will rotate the cake so you can see all sides of the cake. So that way you're not just seeing one side of the cake, the wedding cake, it actually rotates so you can see the whole cake.
Yeah. Because I know when I first saw it, the first wedding I did with that, I was like, this is so cool. And then almost you want to take good pictures of both sides because they're both so good. But right. I always wondered, like, how did they, and then the symmetry is so like seamless, where it doesn't like it really is like one cake on this side, and it doesn't look like Spider-Man's hand is like on the other side by accident, right. Like that. So I think that's super cool. So let's go to the next question. Can you design a custom cake to match a theme, a dress, a color scheme, anything like that? Like how far out can couples go with this?
Absolutely, yes. That's why a lot of people refer us, because we think outside the box. It's not just your traditional white wedding cake with the piping and the beaded borders. We do pretty much anything you can think of when it comes to wedding cakes. For example, one cake we did a couple years ago was the TARDIS, which is the Doctor Who TARDIS. And that was their theme, Doctor Who. And it was really cool. I loved the wedding because they had the TARDIS actually there. Any people that are Doctor Who fans will know what I'm talking about. But they actually had the dialects there, the TARDIS there to take pictures with. So it was really fun. So we really do think outside the box. And we will do anywhere from a small cake to a 13-tier cake. So we have no limitation on the size or the design. Sometimes the stranger it is, the more fun it is.
Because it's different, and it makes you like pull on your creativity. I feel the same way when I'm shooting a wedding that is like completely different. I'm like, oh, I get to like really pull out, you know, not the best of me, but sometimes it can get boring when it's the same thing. So I think when you have like a theme or something that is like totally out the box, it really pulls on your creativity muscle. That's what I think.
Yeah, we also did a Batman Towers.
Oh, wow.
It was a cake. It was actually a building that was a wedding cake.
Yeah, it was a giant building.
Yeah, it was a big building and then they just cut into the building in the back area, and then they just got to eat all that cake.
So my next question for you is, how far in advance should a couple order their wedding cake?
Usually we say 4 to 6 months, but recently people have been doing it like 2 months.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Recently people have been coming in and saying, okay, well, next month is my wedding. And we're like, okay. Because we can only take so many cakes because it's only the two of us. There's only so many we can do. But some places are bigger and they can handle more volume, but we take what we can handle because we want to make sure every cake is perfect when we deliver it and have it perfect for the couple.
Yeah,
so
we don't want the quality go bad,
right?
Because we have too many cakes.
Right. We believe in quality more than quantity, and but that's what we figure. But the sooner you order your wedding cake and place your deposit down and stuff, the better, because it locks in your date, and then you don't have to rush around at the last minute.
Quality and experience is a big deal, and I think sometimes people get so caught up in I want to look popular and be, you know,
right.
But they're skipping like the essentials, which is customer experience, quality. And I've seen, like, even locally, I've seen some horror stories of, you know, wedding cake decorators who are taking on too much.
Right.
And so brides are going around like posting, don't order from this place in groups. And it's you know, people use social media now is what I'm trying to get at. And so
we've already had to help other cake people out because they take on too many orders and they're like, well, hey, can you help us this weekend? And we help out the other bakers, and we don't really say anything, but we will help them out.
Okay, so my next question is, how many wedding cakes do you actually schedule on the same day?
It depends on how big the cake is. Location. Yep. If it's in Ocala, obviously we can't be delivering
8 cakes
in this location and have to drive to Ocala at the same time. So it depends on like sizes, how much detail goes into the cake.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, because if it's a highly detailed cake and it's going to take me hours of work to do it, or her to help out with it too and do hours of work, we can only take maybe 2 or 3 cakes if it's a very large detailed cake. Or if they're simple cakes, we can do them much faster than we could for a detailed cake. So that has a lot to play with it too.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense, but I was curious. Like, I see some people just banging out, and I'm like, how do you guys do it? Because the baking the cake per se, like I don't know what the right word to use, but the cake, you know what I mean? Like,
you're good baking.
Like, you're not even done. Like, that's like step 1, you know what I mean? So, because
we bake our cakes only like a day or 2 before, so everything's fresh.
Wow.
So depending on the decor, if it's something that we know that's going to take a long time, we might suggest a fake cake.
Okay.
So we can work on parts of the cake that are fake, and then the real cake we can work on a different time or a day before the wedding.
That's
good. A lot of our cakes are fresh.
So that would be like, sometimes I've seen like the fondant or like the styrofoam, like the outside is like real icing, but when they cut into it, it's not actual cake.
Yeah, we remind our couples which one is the fake one. We said we don't want you cutting into that one that's fake because you'd be like, "What is wrong?"
Yeah.
I want this cut.
I've had a few. I'll be honest. I've had a few couples who were like, and they're looking at me like, and I have to stop, because I don't know, because I wasn't a part of the cake picking process. So at first I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with your cake, and then it'll click like, okay, it's fake. So sometimes what I've been doing, honestly, is I've been telling couples to cut the back of the cake if they don't remember, so that way they can stop for a minute and know, okay, this is the layer, and then really layers. Yeah, because I've had a wedding where the bride was like, she couldn't get through it, and I was like, Not like stabbing it, but it was so hard and then it clicked like it was, that part of the cake was fake. But I've seen so many people do that. And the funny thing is, like, they look real.
They
like,
do.
Yeah.
They look so real, so you don't know the difference between it. And when someone's really, really good at it, like, it's almost like, wow, like, don't even cut it, like, don't touch it.
I know. We had this one cake that we did probably about a year and a half ago, and it was a 2-sided cake, and it had on the one side, it was the groom's side, and the bride's she picked her own design. But it was fun because on the groom's side, he was a fireman. And so half the cake was a building on fire. And we even had a little fire truck at the base, and the cake looked like it was on fire. And they were so funny. They came in to drop off the cake stand, and they said, we didn't want to cut it. We just stood there and looked at it. We loved it so much, we just didn't want to cut it. She says, but we didn't want to eat 100 servings of cake by ourselves, so we had to eventually cut it. So it was pretty fun.
That's what I'm saying. Like, some of the designs you guys make are so, like, intricate and cool. It's like, let's just take it. Let's just be in awe of the cake real quick and then cut into it. But I've also seen couples who won't cut it, and they'll get, like, cupcakes or mini cake of the bigger cake. So do you guys do that? Do you do mini cakes?
Sorry, we had a little baby invasion here. Since we are a family-owned company, this is my granddaughter, Lilu. She was in the background making that noise, so now we figured we'd have her join in a little bit.
And it's perfectly fine. We're all family. We're about family here, togetherness, so that's cool. So we were talking about cake pricing, and basically, like, does pricing vary on a flavor of choice, or how do you guys actually, price cakes?
So the prices are usually by the design and by the amount of servings that you're getting, not necessarily the flavors. You can really do whatever flavors and fillings inside. You can do 4 different fillings if you have 4 tiers. It just really depends on the design.
The only thing you're paying extra for with us is typically the design.
So have you guys ever done a cake for, like, an out-of-state client that was, okay, so you do work outside of Florida as well?
Correct. Yep.
That's good. That way anybody watching, because I know some people who are watching are not even in the state of Florida, and I tell them, like, listen, anybody can get on a plane. So don't limit, you know what I mean?
Our supplies, we'll travel to where the location is, and as long as we have a kitchen that we can use, we'll decorate and do everything there.
I've been trying to go to Jamaica.
Okay.
So if anybody has a Jamaican cake or a cake they want me to do in Jamaica, I'm open.
Do you guys do smash the cake too?
Pardon?
Do you do like the smash, like for the 1-year-olds babies?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Our 1-year-olds are typically, for our 1-year-olds, we'll do a smash cake for free.
Right.
And then after that, sometimes they'll do a special smash cake where they order it for photography purposes and stuff like that.
The presentation too, like people look at that, like especially food. I know people are attracted to food by how it looks. So, you want your cake to look just as good as how you made it, especially for the couple to see at that point. And then
that was one of our goals when we first started our company. We always heard the cake was beautiful, but it tasted horrible, or it tasted really good, but it looked horrible. So it was vice versa. So our first goal was to make sure that the couple had a great tasting cake and also loved it as far as the decor and thought it was beautiful.
That's that quality and experience. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what that is. So here's my next question, and we're actually at the end. So that's cool. You guys made it. Because I know I asked you already, like, how far in advance did you order cake, but are there any like delivery fees or setup fees that the couple should be prepared for? And then in addition to that, do you actually decorate the cake table, or do you leave that to the venue?
Good question. We do not. First, I'll say we do not decorate the table. We always tell them to have it ready and prepared, so when we get there, we can place the cake.
Right.
Same thing for if anything goes on the cake, for example, like flowers. We ask that the flowers be at least on the table, or the florist has them ready for us, so that it's easy in, it's easy out, it's ready to get set up right away. As far as delivery, We do have a delivery fee. Our delivery fee starts around $40 and it varies on distance. So if we're going to Daytona or we're going to Tampa, of course the delivery would be more, but we try to keep it low because we deliver it ourselves, so we don't pay anybody to do it. But we try to keep it low because I know sometimes it can be very costly, the delivery fee. So we try to take that into consideration. But there's no setup fee. We consider it a setup delivery.
It's like a delivery and setup fee.
Yeah. We don't have any effort for that.
Yeah, I just remind everybody that anything that's non-edible, they're responsible for pretty much. Anything that's sugar, we can provide or do.
What about the cake stand? Like, do the couples do that? How does that work?
So we do have cake stands that you can rent. We have about 30 different stands, different colors, different sizes, different shapes, all different kinds of stuff like that. And they start at, how much do they start at now?
Typically $35.
$35. So they start at $35, and they go up from there depending on like what the stand looks like.
Right. It just depends on how big the stand is.
That makes sense. Like, I know we were discussing, like, if it's a 13-tier cake,
right?
You're not gonna be like, hey, can I have, when you're done, can I have that?
No. At that point, you're thinking, okay, 13-tier cake, you can gladly borrow a stand.
Right. Yeah. That's how tall is that in feet? Do you guys measure that?
The one cake we did, it was 13 tiers, big. And this one's like, so Mom, do you think you can deliver it by yourself? And I'm like, I'm 5 foot, not even 5 foot. The cake is bigger than me. How am I supposed to put those top tiers on? We ended up using a ladder.
I was gonna say, do you use a ladder?
I had a ladder, and I was standing on my tippy toes trying to put this topper on.
Do you guys have it on video? Like, of you doing?
We do. We have a video on our Facebook. It was funny because she's just like, so you can put it together by yourself, and I'm like, no.
She's like, oh, I'm 5 foot. Really, she's 4'11", but she says she's 5 foot.
So does it have, like, when you're doing those kind of tiers cakes, is it like, I forgot what they're called, but I know there's like bars or sticks that you kind of like just
dowels.
Yes,
yeah.
The dowels.
Okay. So we reinforce the cake pretty well. We put dowels like on each layer, and then we put a wooden dowel down the center.
Oh.
For the 13 tier, to be honest, only one cake was real.
Right. Wow.
The rest was fake.
It was still heavy because it was all fondant.
Right.
Fondant is still heavy, even though when you have a large cake that is this big, it's still really heavy.
Yeah. But it was fun.
I'm gonna go find the video.
Pardon?
I'm gonna go find that video because I'm like, I have to see this put together. Like,
it was really fun. It was one of those cakes we were super excited because it was the first cake of the year, and it was like January 3rd, and we were doing the biggest cake. It was one of our biggest cakes that we've made so far. We've done some big ones, but that I think was our biggest so far.
So, closing question: what kind of desserts do you guys make, and how can a couple incorporate a wedding cake and desserts that go together?
So what you can do is you can do like a dessert bar and have your cake in the center of it. So it's kind of like your focal part, and then you're doing the desserts around it. And we offer cake tops, cupcakes, mini brownie bites, mini pies,
all types of desserts.
You name it, we pretty much do it if it's a dessert.
And cookies. People love cookies.
Yeah, I have to ask, I think I heard you right. What is a mini pie? Is that what you said?
Yes, mini pies. So they're like pies, but they're like this big.
Okay. Oh, pies. Like, I thought it was like another name.
Yes, a regular pie. But you can do cherry, pumpkin pie, apple pie, all kinds of flavors.
I thought you were giving like a cake another name, like calling it a mini pie. I didn't know you meant like a literal pie. It's just
you can do like a whoopie pie. A whoopie pie is like 2 pieces of cake with frosting in the center. We call them whoopie pies.
Yeah, because we're from up north and we're Pennsylvania Dutch, so baking go with our heritage. Yeah, it goes with our heritage.
Yeah. Cool. It's okay. Well, this was a very interesting and fun interview. Phoebe's like, okay, we're done here. That's it, guys. I've behaved enough. So I'm glad that we got to do this. I know wedding cakes are important to everyone. And so I just wanted couples to have an idea of certain things that, were of importance.
Well, we appreciate it.
No, yeah, I had fun.
And as like we said, we're a family business, and she has 4 children, and so a lot of times I try to pick up some of that slack because I can understand when I have just the one child.
Right.
We have 4 children. She's even busier than I am.
Sometimes if you see me at a wedding show, my oldest one will come with us.
Yes.
She's going to be our takeover, she always says.
Yeah, she always says
she's going to take over the business.
Yeah, and she's like, don't retire yet, Grandma, because I have to finish school first. So.
But that's good though, because you can keep it going with the family line, you know. Right. And I don't think people even do that kind of stuff anymore. Like when they're done, they kind of just let it be done.
Let it go.
Yeah. So I think that's a cool thing that you are connecting.
And it started, we started as a hobby because it was during the recession in 2012 when everything bellied out. And we started as a hobby for extra money, and it went from extra money to a full-time business within 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely known. I've looked at your Facebook videos, the views. I've heard your name around, so you're definitely you're making waves in a good way. Yeah.
We didn't know we were talented until we started doing what we were making the cakes. I can look at a picture and make anything into a cake.
Well, guys, this was fun. I know we're definitely going to stay connected after this. And we had a third person talk about the cakes, baby Caitlin, and gave us her opinion about them as well. So, like I said, people have to run a business, and family is important. I've learned that over the years with me getting older, and don't worry about it, and me getting older and stuff like that too. So with that being said, we're going to end this segment, but I will see you guys in the next one. And if you have any quick cake questions, remember this year you can submit your questions online, and we'll get them back to these beautiful ladies right here, and hopefully they can answer them. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.